Thank you all so much for joining us, those of you who are joining us live, and also those of you who are watching us via the recording. Thanks for spending some of your day with us today. This is something that we at the STEM Connection feel very passionate about, getting kids outside or having opportunities to connect kids with nature. So we're really excited to spend a little time sharing some of the things that we know and some of our experiences, maybe hearing a little bit from you if you are with us live, and really hopefully empowering everyone to be able to provide these types of opportunities with the kids that you work with. So I am Angela Fitzgerald. I am the Director of Programs for the STEM Connection. And I've been with the STEM Connection. I started as a facilitator about 6 or 7 years ago. And prior to that, I was a middle school math and science teacher. So I spent 12 years in that formal learning space, and then have transitioned to more of the informal learning space over the last few years. So kind of come with a variety of experiences. Today, I am joined by my colleague, Ann Niednagel, and she, in this kind of area of the world, might be known as Outdoor Ann, and we are so happy to have her with us today. Ann, do you want to give a quick background on kind of your experiences?
Sure. Am I unmuted yet? Sorry, everybody. My first time doing webinar with STEM Connection, but very excited to be here. My background is also formal education. I taught middle school, and then I had an opportunity to retire early. And after about half a dozen years of teaching at a public school, I stayed home and wanted a part-time job. So I developed Outdoor Ann, where I've gone into classrooms, both public and private schools, and brought environmental education to teachers and helping the teachers get their kids outside. I have a passion for inspiring wonder and creativity in children using the environment. Also, having served as this volunteer situation as Outdoor Ann, this opened me to have time on a number of different boards that support environmental education. I've served on the board of the Environmental Education Association of Indiana, where I had the opportunity to meet formal and informal educators. I've also worked closely with Indiana Children and Nature Network, again, promoting children getting outside. And most recently, I'm working with Angela and many others at the STEM Connection. So this is very exciting. And I'm just thrilled to be here today with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So great that we have some different experiences that Ann has in her background, some of the different experiences we've had with the STEM Connection. And hopefully by the time you leave us today, you'll have some ideas and some excitement towards getting ready to get those kiddos outside, especially as the weather is hopefully turning warmer for us here in the Midwest as we're approaching spring and summer and then into fall, some of the best times to be outside. So that was a little bit about us. We're just going to pop this quick intro poll up for you. Those of you who are joining us live, it's just going to take you about 30 seconds probably to answer a few quick questions in terms of your current position, kind of where you are reaching kids currently. If this is your first time with the STEM Connection and kind of engaging in one of our programs, and then what your level of experience with outdoor learning is, kind of where do you feel you fall kind of on that spectrum? Are you just kind of beginning and starting out kind of that outdoor learning, those sorts of opportunities, or do you have a little bit more of experience doing that? And it looks to me as though we are across the board. We have elementary, middle school, high school educators, we have youth workers, a mix of those that have joined us for STEM Connection programs in the past and those that are new. And then also we are pretty across the board with some novice and kind of just beginning outdoor education. And then we have some that have a little bit more experience. So thank you so much for sharing kind of where you're coming from, that helps us just kind of think about all the different experiences and places and spaces that you may be joining us from. So that way we can make sure we think about all those different settings. Those of you that are new to the STEM Connection, we're a nonprofit organization. We're located in Indianapolis, but we like to try to spread the work around. And we just really work to educate and empower children and adults in the principles of science, technology, engineering, and math through hands-on learning experiences. And we like to connect those to the outdoors as much as possible. So to give you a little snapshot of our place in space and how we like to do some of the work with kids outdoors, here is a little video.
The STEM Connection is really a place where kids can just come to learn and explore and make connections with the world around them. In our farm space here, we have day camps and we also have field trips. And those run year round and can be flexible depending on what time of year we're in.
This place was the first place I really got to explore nature. Like my backyard when I was growing up, it didn't really have many woods behind it. So I got to come out here and explore all these woods and these big open fields and just see what nature was really about and all the fish and birds and things like that.
Kids are free to be in nature and see what they see and ask questions and learn along the way. And it's just a really great informal learning opportunity for kids to come and be themselves and gain skills and experiences that will help them be successful now and hopefully into the future.
All of the activities that we have here are very hands-on, and it gets their minds working and thinking and seeing how things are actually done versus just reading about it. So I really love that aspect, in that everything is hands-on, everything the kids are involved in.
I've had a blast at the STEM Connection. I've made a bunch of memories.
This place has been a blessing for me. And if you want to check us out, you can check us out on our website. You're always welcome. And we'd love for you to come on down.
You guys should check us out online. There's always a space for you. So.
So you can kind of see there that we have, a fairly extensive outdoor learning environment at our farm space. We have gardens, we have a creek, we have fields, there's forests, there's a lot of different things going on. But we've also, Ann and I have both also worked in places and situations where we don't have an outdoor setting quite like that, where you're a little bit more limited in what you have access to. So hopefully throughout our time today, you can get ideas to help you regardless of kind of the place and space where you are. So these are just the programs that we offer. We kind of have these 6 programs. So if you are local, we hope that hopefully you can engage in a variety of our programs. And then we also love to connect with people in lots of different ways, like we're doing today. A few more pictures that tell the story that help to just kind of show our experiences and action. Again, trying to be outside as much as possible and connecting to nature and the outdoors as much as possible in all different types of weather. It is a little bit easier to do some of these learning experiences when the weather is a bit more favorable, but there's lots to be said about taking kids outside when the weather is a little bit less than favorable, if it's raining or snowing, or there's lots to see and explore all different times of the year. And I just want to share a few more of the tools quickly that we use when we're thinking about our programming and how we're setting up our programs and our experiences for kids. We like to connect with the standards as much as possible. So we know that there are content standards for science and technology and math that we can connect with. Here in Indiana, we also have some after-school specialty standards for STEM. So if you're in more of that informal learning space, there are some standards that we can connect to. In the work that we do, we like to give students those opportunities to engage in STEM practices as much as possible. So as we're thinking about, what sorts of activities kids may be able to do that kind of hit certain disciplines, and a lot of them cross over into the different disciplines. But here are some great types of opportunities that you could provide. If you have an activity that is working on one of these skills, then you're really just helping develop experiences for those kids that are going to be beneficial to them now and moving forward. Thinking about our employability skills, we have standards that connect to those here in Indiana. So providing, again, ways to kind of develop that whole child, not just thinking about, what science is connected, but how can we help them develop those skills and practices that will be meaningful in lots of different experiences, especially as we're trying to, get them ready to join the workforce. And this is one final tool that we like to share as we're thinking about our programs. We find that the Dimensions of Success is a great tool that we can use to help us think about all the different aspects of our STEM programs and kind of what we should consider when we're trying to create those meaningful and successful programs. So this is from Pear Inc. And it's a great tool to just help you think about your program and how you can set yourself up to have those positive experiences with kids related to STEM. So if you want to learn more about that, there's that link there that you can kind of learn more about as you go. And with that, that's a little bit of just kind of the background on the STEM connection quickly and kind of some of the things that we use to help get ourselves set up for successful experiences with kids. And now Anne's going to start sharing a little bit more specifically about what we found with outdoor learning. Go for it.
Sorry about that. Oops, can you go? Great. Little technical difficulties there. I apologize. This is my first webinar with STEM Connection, and so glad we got that worked out. I'll be talking about what exactly outdoor learning is, why it's important, which I think many of you all are here and know those things, and then we'll get into some specifics, like how you can incorporate more outdoor learning in your circumstances and wherever you are. So we're starting here with what is outdoor learning. The North American Association for Environmental Education has identified outdoor learning as a set of activities, including discovery and experimentation, experiences, engaging in the environment. And as you can read what they've said there, I wanted to pause for a minute and talk about the North American Association for Environmental Education is an amazing resource. They've been around for over 50 years. They work with over 30 countries promoting outdoor learning and environmental education. At the end of our webinar, there is a list of resources. I highly recommend you look at their website because they've got resources for you. They've been promoting this for a very long time. Why are we promoting outdoor learning? We can go to the next slide and see some of the benefits. There's lots of benefits that have been actually identified through scientific studies, and using, again, some of the resources at the end of our webinar, you can see where these studies have come from. But the studies have shown that there's better academic performance when the kids are able to get outside. There's enhanced creativity. The attention is just greater. There's so much more to intrigue the students. And we've seen that attention deficit symptoms decrease, and there can be a calming effect from going outside. Increased engagement and enthusiasm. I'm guessing most of you who are watching this have asked a classroom, do you want to go outside to learn? And a majority of those kids are going to be enthusiastic about it. So because they're interested in doing it, there's going to be a greater engagement. And we have better behavior. There's shown there's much fewer impulse, there's better impulse control and less disruptive behavior. But the benefits continue. Next slide. They go beyond just the benefits for the youth, but The experience of youth being outside can encourage care for the earth. No one's going to care for something that they don't understand or have never experienced. So having that time outside gives them an experience to then care about. And it's shown that that creative time outside gives better social skills, working together, solving problems. There's this increased self-esteem when a child can actually solve a problem. They always feel so great. It's nice to be able to solve any problems. There are greater connections with their the environment itself, but also with their other classmates. And overall, there's just lots of benefits. And I'm sure you all, having taken, some of you at least having taken kids outside, you can think of some of these benefits too. Can we go to the next slide? So beyond the youth having benefits, it helps teachers. I mean, it's more satisfaction to be able to have a successful lesson outside. It's a little calming. It also provides opportunity for parental or community involvement. And overall, the kids are going to be taking care of the yards. The community is going to be taking care of the schoolyards, knowing that it's used for educational time. So there's benefits about outdoor learning. So let's go ahead and look at how we do that. Now, in the beginning, it's so important to start small, keep it really, really simple. And based on the poll, I know half of you have already had successful experiences outside. And so some of you already know this, but for those that are just starting out, start really small. This webinar is giving you a long laundry list of things to consider, but you don't have to consider all of them right now. Start slowly. As I mentioned, I kind of began this journey as outdoor and going into Indianapolis public schools, trying to get the teachers there to take their children outside. And my reason for picking IPS was I was a IPS student, and I had a 5th grade teacher who took us to camp. And I had such a profound experience there. I wish that all children were able to have that time to go outside. So I started working with IPS and getting kids to use the neighborhood, or not the neighborhood, but the actual schoolyard as a lesson place. And I'll share some of those very simple activities and then how you can expand them for up to high school. So let's go ahead and look at the next one. These are things to consider based on the Green Schoolyards of America. If you wish to have a green schoolyard at your facility, these are some wonderful things you want to consider. If you're in a building and you're a single formal teacher and you just want to take your kids outside, this isn't necessarily for you. But if you are trying to establish an outdoor space, these are definitely wonderful opportunity or wonderful suggestions to take advantage of. You'll want to consider your seating and your supplies. How are your supplies going to be kept? Where are they coming from? Where is protection from the weather? And of course, hand washing stations or bathroom accessibility, accessibility for ADA, transportation. Based on the poll that we saw today, I'm not sure who else is going to be watching this. I'm not sure all of this pertains to you, but the one that pertains to everybody is outdoor clothing. If you want to be taking your kids outside, you've got to make sure they're clothed correctly. That's a fundamental thing. The kid's going to have a bad time if they're not wearing the right clothes, and it's just, it can set up for disaster instead of a successful learning experience. So let's move on to the next slide. But let's say you want to get your kids outside and teach a lesson outside. Here are some tips just based on, and again, think what pertains to you in the beginning and keep it really simple. But you do need to plan ahead. What is the space I'm going to be using? Where am I going to be taking the kids outside? What is the lesson going? When is the lesson going to be given? I have found visiting classrooms, I talk to the teachers and ask them, and you'll know your students best, when is the best time for them to be able to move outside that the teacher thinks they could behave well versus kind of going crazy. I've been sitting there too long. And I work with some preschool kids. Sometimes they're too tired to go outside. So pick a good time in the schedule for going outside. It's always easier to have your lesson if the child can hold something. I found with little kids, especially if you're doing clipboards, have one kid hold a clipboard, the other kid hold the writing utensil, and you can share these things. It's nice to have things to sit on, cushions, towels, or blankets. I've worked with many schools that have a zero budget, and we used Kroger or grocery bags. And every child held a grocery bag. And then when it was time to sit down, they put the grocery bag down and just sat on the grocery bag. And it was also nice because when they were done and moving around, if you were collecting things for your nature spot in the classroom, they could put those things in the grocery bags and bring them in. So that's a little side idea. Make sure, definitely, you have let your office or somebody else know that you're taking the kids outside, and you've pre-programmed the office phone number into your cell phone, or if you're lucky enough that you guys have walkie-talkies, keep the walkie-talkies on. That's just safety, and I'm sure you guys all know that. You can look to your community for help. There's a number of organizations in Indianapolis. I know there's the Master Gardeners, and there is a Native Plant Society, both of which who like to come out and talk to kids. They're not going to be ones to lead a lesson, but they can help you talk to the kids about different lessons. And a side note or a little suggestion, make sure if it's a sunny day that you're not standing so that your students are facing the sun and your back is to the sun, because you're going to lose all interest. They're not going to be able to pay attention to you. Their eyes are going to be so irritated. They're going to be looking everywhere. It's easier for you to put a hat on and a visor on and face the sun while they face you. It's just a helpful hint. And this also, when you're setting up an outdoor classroom, let's say you are setting a facility up, you should consider that the speaker needs to be facing the sun. Think about where the sun is when you're outside, or that there's shelter from it. Okay, next. Developing an outdoor routine. This is so important whether you're working with preschoolers or high schoolers, preschool through high school. You have a routine and clear expectations. As formal teachers, you know, clear expectations work so much better with students. At one school I worked with, the first week of school, we took a walk outside with the classrooms, and prior to going outside, we talked about learning outdoors. We're going outside. It's not recess. We are learning. So what's our behavior? What is our behavior when we're walking through the hallways? While we walk outside, we're going to have the same kind of routine. We're not trying to disrupt classrooms that are inside that might have windows open. And so talking about those expectations or norms is so, so important. Establish a routine that's comfortable for you. My routine working with all the kids was to show up in a classroom. I would read something to them related to our lesson. Then we would go outside. They knew the expectation of what walking outside looked like. And then we would be active. So I always started with a book, but that's because that's comfortable for me. You need to establish your routine and stick with it. You can always add things or adjust it as necessary, but it's good to let them know what the routines are. Let's see, you have designate some of this stuff. I'm sure you could figure out. Anticipate and plan for the weather. If you've planned this for a week and the weather is lousy, don't take them outside and make it a miserable experience. Postpone it and be prepared for postponing it. And when you schedule a rain date. So you know, if we can't do it this day, we'll do it this day, and let the kids know so that they're not overly disappointed. I think that's about all on here. Can we go to the next slide? Building success. Helping the youth get to know the outdoor spaces is part of a routine. So taking them out regularly is so important. It gets easier and easier. Definitely keep it short and simple. I mentioned with some of the schools, we would just take a walk around the school, all the way around the school. That was it in the beginning, short and simple. We talk about behavior before we went out on the walk. Then we talk about behavior once we got inside, how did it work, how didn't do it, can we practice it again? Modeling good behaviors, but you guys know all that. Learning does look very different outside, and it's so important to foster that creativity and observation skills. I've noticed that some kids might be difficult in the classroom to handle and might have some discipline problems in the classroom, but outside they observe so much more and see so much more than I necessarily see. So being open to hear what they see and open to that creativity, because learning does look different outside, and we want to make it a positive experience for everyone involved. Again, just make it part of what you do. Try to work it into your routine. So next slide. Oh, okay. This is the fun part for me, at least. There are 3 books in here that are part of my lessons. And the first one, Step Gently Out, is the book I read before we take our walk around the schoolyard. It's a beautiful book with just photographs, macro photography of these bugs and insects that you would find in any of your schoolyards if you step gently out and are careful. I read this book and then I have a dry erase board and I ask the kids, what do they think they're going to see outside? And some might be like, a red truck. Okay, we'll write a red truck down. You know, some might say an ant, others a lion, whatever they list. We write it down and then we take a walk outside and they're using their observation skills. We're practicing observation skills and I'm practicing how we behave and learn outside. Then you can come back inside. It's a really quick lesson. What did we see? What didn't we see? And why didn't we see some of those things? But it's a nice one. That is elementary school. I'm not sure you could, I don't know if anything higher than 3rd grade would want to use that one. The next book, A Fruit is a Suitcase for Seeds, is really fun and you can do so many different things with this one. I like to look at how seeds travel and focus a lesson on seeds and how they travel with this one. We talk about what suitcases are after reading it and who has a suitcase and what's the purpose. Then we also talk about one of the activities inside or outside. If I'm a tree and they are all the nuts from the tree and they've fallen down to the ground close to me, I have the whole classroom move into that space that they think the nuts would fall if I'm the tree trunk. Then I ask them, do they have enough room to grow? And is there enough space? Well, pre-COVID, this was kind of fun, but they were definitely not enough space. So we talked about how important it is for the seeds to be able to travel. There is a STEM quick win that you can incorporate with this book. And it is, oh, sorry, I got to get my notes. Seed Starter Glove, where you can see how seeds actually open up. And it's nice to do with this book also. And Step Gently Out also parallels with the STEM Quick Win Spot 5 about scavenger hunts. So the last book I'll share details about was Diary of a Worm. And that lesson has been really fun. And you could take this one all the way through high school. It's a fun, humorous book. And it's about journaling. So you could do it with language arts. The lesson I've done is read this, and then I have trays of worms and groups of 4 or maybe 5 kids trying to count how many worms are on their tray. And then once we've done that, I've loosened the soil somewhere in the schoolyard. I come in early for that. And then I give each kid a tool. And the tool actually is just about a 12-inch long stick that I've collected. And then they can dig for the worms. If you wanted to go into dissecting the worms with high school or how worms move, there's all sorts of different more scientific studies you could do with that one. But it's a fun book, and it's one of a series of 3 books. And there's the Earth book I also have used, which is great for scavenger hunts or a cleanup day. I usually read that one in April for Earth Day, and then we go out and clean up the yard or identify how we can clean up, take care of the earth. And I'm also going to mention A Rock is Lively is part of a series of books that talks about seeds. There's one, A Seed is Sleepy, and An Egg is Quiet. And they're beautiful books, and they are great for a wide range of ages, where you can read the largest print just for the preschool classes. But then if you're getting into the more scientific and the higher level learning, you can read the smaller print with the high school kids and middle school kids. And it just spearheads. Yes, they're picture books, but everybody loves a good picture book, and they're short and sweet. And it's a way to engage and start a program. So we've got a lot more lessons, and I'm gonna pass it on.
Yeah, thanks, Anne, for sharing some of the lessons that you've done, the activities you've done. If you've been with us for other webinars, you know that we love to share about literature links, because it's something with us that we find can go both ways. You could start with a book and then think of or find an outdoor activity that you could connect with the book. Or if you have an activity that you're doing, there's bound to be a great link to literature that you can find to bring in to help with some of the content of that concept that you're exploring, or just to kind of help reinforce the ideas that you're sharing. So we always like to share lots of the literature links that we use. Just here is just a kind of a little variety, whether you're thinking physical science or earth science or life science, or engineering. Even with the home builders, we use that one as we think about how animals are engineers, just like humans can be engineers. There's just a wide variety of literature. And so that is always something that we find to be helpful when we have that literature link to connect with our activities. So if there is a literature link that you use, a book that you have used when you've done an outdoor lesson or experience with kids, we'd love for you to share some other ideas. We have a little bit of a problem with books at the STEM Connection. I wouldn't really call it a problem, but we just love all the kids' books, because they can be really engaging for kids, and they can really help enforce those literacy connections as well, kind of all wrapped up in that STEM experience. So any thoughts that you have to share, we love to hear some of your feedback. Oh, we're seeing that Winnie the Pooh, What Good Are Bugs? We're seeing Diary of a Worm, others that are liking that Diary of a Worm. That's a really fun one to use. If you do think of another one as we kind of continue on, feel free to just pop any other thoughts or ideas into that chat box we'd love to hear your thoughts. Kind of continuing on with that idea of, having those literature links, is also thinking about and considering kind of the interests of the youth that you're working with, or things that they find appealing. So when we are utilizing our space and place at Moore Road Farm, we go for a hike as part of all of our experiences. And we are fortunate enough that we have 2 honeybee hives at the farm. You can kind of see both of them vaguely pictured. So we have one that's kind of a longer box that can be used for observation, and then more of the traditional white box. Well, that, going by or seeing those beehives always brings up a lot of questions with the youth that we're working with, right? And different kids have a lot of different feelings when it comes to bees. Some of them find them very interesting. Some of them are kind of scared. Some of them, are curious why they're so important. So that is something where we could really kind of take that, idea that the kids are finding that our bees are pretty interesting and they're asking a lot of questions. So how can we take that a little bit farther and help them know even a little bit more about the bees? So sometimes we pull out, some of our beekeeping equipment that we have. We have found a number of books that kind of connect with that and those ideas. We have some garden spaces too. So helping to connect the ideas of, those pollinators and those gardens and how it's all kind of connected really helps the kids. So here's just some more literature links that really, if, just one example of how we kind of took something that was really interesting to the kids that they were asking a lot of questions about, and trying to develop more so that they can learn more about it. Also thinking about, that interest and what's appealing to kids, or what they might be concerned about when it comes to nature or the outdoors is a great starting point for a problem-based learning or project-based learning experience for the kids. So you can think, here we have, what if there were no bees? What would happen? So why do we have honeybees at our farm, and why are they important, and why does it matter? That could really just be kind of a springboard if you're thinking about what is interesting and appealing to your kids. There's a lot of great, nature connected, learning experiences in that PBL world that could really be developed based on that. So just wanted to share in this, these books over here, kind of some different levels, kind of thinking about those connection. Even the Bees on the Roof, that is a chapter book that's more geared towards those upper elementary, middle school kids as well. So you can find lots of ways to incorporate not just picture books, but also there are more and more graphic novels and chapter books that connect with a lot of the STEM content that we're seeing come out. A few more activity ideas. Anne mentioned that we have our STEM Quick Wins, which is a library of free STEM activities that is available to anyone, and quite a few of our within our library. I think at this point there's probably 120 or so activities that are available to you, and many of them are connected to nature or the world outside. So this is just one that is a super easy activity that you can do pretty much no matter what your place and space is. You could collect the materials and bring them in to your group or your class as a connection to nature and kind of talk about what they are and where they were found. You could have the youth go outside and do some collection of some different pieces of nature and then create your ephemeral art. So we'll show, because with each of our STEM Quick Wins, there's a one-page activity sheet with the information, and then there's a short video that goes with it to kind of show the activity. So we'll take a look at ephemeral nature art.
Hi, I'm Cameron. I'm Drew. And I'm Ryan. And today's quick win is ephemeral nature art. Today we're going to be creating innovative art using materials found in nature. Woo!
An innovator is someone who creates new ideas or ways of doing things. One way innovation happens is when someone designs something in a new way or using unconventional materials. The word ephemeral means lasting a very short time. Ephemeral art refers to art that is created from materials that will only exist or be seen for a short period of time. Think about that beautiful sandcastle you built that you know will eventually get washed away by the incoming tide. Many beautiful things are found in nature and are the inspiration for art and design. Now get up and go for a walk around your yard or neighborhood and collect some natural materials to make your ephemeral art with. Once you have gathered those natural materials, use everything you collected to create a piece of art. You can make it on the sidewalk, driveway, patio, table, really anywhere. It's ephemeral, so it's only going to last a short time. Once you're satisfied with your art, notice how it changes. Did the wind blow something around? Did it stay the same way you wanted it to? How long did it stay there? What changed the artwork or caused it to go away? If you'd like to create a piece of natural art that is not ephemeral, simply glue what you've made to a piece of paper, cardboard, or a paper plate. That way it'll last a long time.
That's all for today's STEM Quick Win. We love to see the art you created. Thanks for watching.
That's just another example. I know Anne shared a couple other activities that we have as STEM Quick Wins that are hopefully a great resource for you to use, just quick and easy go-to activities that can connect to nature and get your kids kind of thinking about the outdoors and what's there and how we interact with those different items. So just one example there. So we hope that you really check out those STEM Quick Wins and use them as a resource as you move forward, thinking about those outdoor experiences that you can share with the youth that you're working with. And again, just really wanting to reiterate that the possibilities are endless. It doesn't have to look, those outdoor learning experiences don't have to look a certain way. They can take place in lots of different places, whether that's the parking lot of your school, or that's a little bit of green space you have, or maybe it's just, you're pitching a tent or have a more formal outdoor learning space. There's no one right way to do it. The idea is just to get those kids out there, however works for you. So there's just a variety of examples of what, we've seen happening in different areas around. Some ideas, some things that work for us, a few more tips or tricks that we've kind of learned along the way, since we are pretty much, exclusively outdoors when we are thinking about our field trips and camps that we have for kids. Having those designated places to sit. Not all kids like to sit on the grass. So if there is something that you can use to help kind of have that barrier. I know at my girls' school, they each, when the weather's nice and they can have lunch outside or do some activities outside, they just ask that each kid brings in a towel to sit on, and it can be kind of anything. Or the grocery bag idea, that's great because we all have those, and it's always great to find, uses for those other uses for those grocery bags. Clipboards is an easy material to have to help make the work feel a little bit more official. We always know that, the kids kind of stand up a little straighter when they feel like, what they have is important. We'd use these clipboards a lot for scavenger hunts to put, something on to have the kids really be focused on something, or, when they might be needing to write something down, it gives them that surface on which to do that. Since we do spend a lot of time outdoors, we have these mobile kind of whiteboard storage units that are on wheels that we can move around, but that's something else to consider. If as the teacher or the facilitator, if you want to write something down or have a place to record ideas, how might that work for you? Whether that's a whiteboard or a big piece of paper, there's different ways that can happen. Just in thinking about just the learning spaces, having materials in some sort of pencil pouch or a little box for the kids, whether that's a little pencil box. We use these kind of shoebox size for our weeks of summer camp when we know that they might have a number of materials that they'll use throughout the week. Just having some way to make it kind of easy, a Ziploc bag or some sort of reusable little bag that you can put stuff in and use over and over and always have it kind of ready to grab and go. You know, I always think like the more prepared you are to go out, the easier it is just to kind of grab your little basket or bag of supplies and head out. You know, you just notice it's a really nice day and you want to take advantage and, you know, do something little outside. If you have kind of stuff already ready to go or at the ready, it just makes it a little bit easier. And then we have wagons as well for moving things from one outdoor learning space that we have to another. It just kind of helps move stuff from, you know, storage in the barn to where we might have our different learning spaces set up. It's one tool that if, you know, you're going to be regularly utilizing those outdoor spaces, we found that to be particularly helpful in getting those materials from one space to another. If you have another tip about an item or a tool or something that you've used to help make your outdoor learning experiences even more successful, we'd love for you to add that into the chat as well. Oh yes, especially in summertime with water, having access for water for drinking, especially when it's warm, but also opportunities to play with that water outside to keep everyone cool and comfortable. It's really fun. And then you can think about, you know, what all needs that water and, you know, why it's important to be hydrating and lots of different STEM connections you can make with that water. Thanks for sharing that idea. And then just kind of as this closing thought is that, you know, utilizing our outdoor spaces really can take some of the burdens off of our indoor spaces, right? They're there for us. They are free to use, you know, those outside spaces. So how can you just kind of utilize whatever place and space that you have to change up the scenery, to help engage more of the youth's senses when we go outside? We know that, you know, there are a lot more senses are being engaged with what they hear and what they smell and what they see and what they might feel. And that helps, you know, promote that learning and retention. So, you know, you can use that outdoor space to really, you know, extend the learning that's happening inside and have more, you know, engaging experiences with that. As we typically do, here are the resources that we have used and find worthy to share, because there's a wealth of great information. Green Schoolyard, Children in Nature Network, and then NAAE there, as Anne mentioned as well a little bit earlier, as far as just outdoor education or environmental education resources. That outdoor classroom users guide, if you're kind of looking to set up a more formal outdoor learning space, that's a great resource for things to consider. And then just a few more resources there that have other activity or lesson ideas that are connected to nature. Anne, thought?
Yes, somebody wrote in about going to the outdoor creek exploration by Cardinal Ritter High School. And I wanted to suggest possibly looking at being citizen scientists and working with Hoosier River Watch, a neat program. And basically citizen scientists are, because we have access to cell phones and digital so much, we're able to actually go out and do water testing in different creeks. And the more testing that's done, you know, you get better information. And so if you're dealing with high school kids, that's really a nice resource that's available. And I think you might be able to find more under Project WET for that, or just do a search for Hoosier River Watch. .org, I believe, and that I think for that higher level kids, it's good about using some different instruments, and it's one I wanted to share. And there's also the Winnie the Pooh lesson about what good are bugs. I love looking up good bugs, bad bugs, and I can't remember where, but I used to have a series of cards, and one series was good bugs, and the other were bad bugs. And so some bugs we want and mosquitoes we don't. So I just wanted to tag on to some of the comments, and I'm not able to type into my computer right now. So I thought I'd share. Thank you.
Yeah, and I love that idea of that citizen science, like empowering youth to really know that things that they do can make a difference. I know there's the Hoosier River Watch, there's the backyard bird count, there's the pollinator count. There's different experiences that happen different times of year where they, actual scientists and researchers are looking to the public to help them with their projects. And there's always, it seems like every season there's a great opportunity to participate in a citizen science activity. So those are great ideas. So thanks for thinking of that. And it kind of triggered in my mind a few of those other opportunities that I know I've seen come across our way. And then just as we are finishing up, just taking this moment to have a moment of reflection and thinking back to, what was shared today. Is there an activity idea or a piece of information or an idea that is kind of sticking with you, that you're kind of going to maybe take with you as your action step moving forward, or something you want to implement? Hopefully we've shared ideas that are really easy for you to grab and go and try in this next, and then within the next week or the next month, or as your program gets going. That's the idea, is we want to just hopefully share ideas and empower you to go and give it a try. So if you have something that kind of has stuck with you, or a thought or idea that you've heard today or that's been shared, we'd love for you to add that into the chat. We like to see just kind of what pieces are sticking, just as we are sharing today. If you're like me too, you kind of go back and take a little time to process the information and think about it and think about what's going to work. So we totally understand that as well. But if you have something that's kind of sticking in your mind, we'd love for you to share that with us before you move along. And then finally, as always, if you are looking to get your PD continuing ed certificate to go along with this experience today, then make sure that you fill out the survey, because that will help us capture your information so we can share that PD certificate with you. If you are joining us live, the survey should pop up as we end the webinar, but you can always access it in this way as well. So if you're watching it via the video, then take a moment now and capture that code or that link, so you can be sure to fill out that survey to get your continuing ed credits for today and your participation today. A few more things just as we are finishing up, more experiences with the STEM Connection. Today, this outdoor learning webinar is the last webinar of the 2021-22 Educator Empowerment Webinar Series, but all 6 webinars you can find recorded and online. So if you want to share that out or go back and look at the recordings, that they are there for you. Here's that link for the STEM Quick Win activities. So please take a look at that library, and hopefully you'll utilize activities that work for you. And then just a couple other opportunities if you are in the neighborhood or want to stay up to date on STEM Connection activities. So that kind of finishes up. I'm going to put it back here in case you want to capture that code before we get going. But thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully you have some ideas to take with you and go get those kids connected with nature. We're really looking to those kiddos to be the caretakers of the earth, and we know that they will do so once they have that, those opportunities to connect with nature and feel that connection to the natural world. So thank you for the work that you do, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon.